There's so much we don't understand about racism in our country. There's so much that we haven't wanted to look at.
A lot of people just never experience being around anybody who looks different than they do or has a different culture than they have.
Skin color plays an important role, but people aren't treating anybody well these days.
I'm aware enough now than when I was, even 2, 3, 4 years ago, of my gaps in knowledge, of those holes that I had in my education.
Race is a hard subject because this is some very intimate and sensitive information. So now you really get to know each other and hopefully to hear and to understand.
Not focused on human decency and empathy is why we have some of the struggles that we still have today.
I think in order to have empathy, we have to make ourselves vulnerable. It takes courage for us to say, I'm making myself vulnerable. And like those people that walk, they made themselves incredibly vulnerable. That's the least I can do.
I washed my hands in the bathroom yesterday where the Freedom Riders washed their hands, 60 years ago. And it's an incredible feeling to be surrounded by the ghosts of all of these incredible movers and shakers, and it's energizing. It makes me want to go back home and talk to my family now that I have more understanding.
We know that the movement wasn't just Black civil rights leaders, that there were white individuals that participated in the movement. So as we're moving and taking this journey together, we're able to see those Black and brown and white faces on a mugshot line up together that shows what interracial, cohesive action can really do.
At a museum, there were 2 different water fountains, and one was for the colored and one was for white. And the school I went to hadn't had a whole lot of updating done to it in a long time. Janet actually had said, I had these fountains and I thought that one was for kids, littler ones, and one was for taller ones. And I realized I had those fountains too, and no, one was for colored and one was for white. And then when the schools were integrated, they kept the same fountains, they just took down the signs. But I didn't know that as a kid. And there's all this racist architecture that's been erased by just removing the sign, but it's still there. Racism is part of the architecture of our country, and it's invisible, but it's also very visible to those who are aware of it. And there's something about it leaping from a page or a website, that's one thing, but when you're actually standing there and able to experience it, it becomes so much more real and present and relevant.
The voter suppression, that you had the mass incarceration, the purposeful mass incarceration, which is just a continuation of slavery. And those were things that really hit home for me.
I have so many racist family members, and this experience really allows us to have deeper conversation and share about experience. But there's just something incredible about feeling the energy of all of these leaders and people who have passed.
And feeling uncomfortable is okay. That means that if you feel uncomfortable, you're doing the work and the growth that needs to happen for yourself, or just to be have good character.
The amount of courage it takes to walk, the amount of courage it takes to put your physical being out there. I'm astounded by the amount of courage these people had, and the fact that they knew they could get hurt, they knew they could get killed.
How I will be changed is just to be aware of what students are carrying, what experiences they have had or have come from, and how that may impact their studying, and just being more understanding of that.
We're on the bus together. You can't get off when we're watching these documentaries, when we're watching these films. You can't help but to see it. It's in your face. And so I think it takes courage to take that on. It takes courage to make that journey.
Race will always be a hard subject, but if you talk about it and again seek to understand, I think we can be a powerhouse at Berea.